All right, good evening, everyone. I guess we'll get started, and we'll see how this goes tonight. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the August 2022 monthly meeting. Those of you who are online, I'm with you. I'm online with you. I'm doing this presentation from my home office, and welcome to all those in attendance in person there in the Roseville Community Center. Or the Fairview Community Center. So have just a comment, please, everyone. Keep your microphones muted because it sure makes for a nicer presentation of the final video when we're all done. So thank you, I appreciate that. As we move along here, here is your board. I am the president, Mark Job. I know John Zimmich is in person tonight, and Matt Dunham, the treasurer, is also in person. I know Conrad and Trina are online. I didn't hear any reports as to where Gunnar was, but I'm sure he's with us somewhere. How's that? Here's our mugs, just in case you need to put a name to a face. Welcome new members. I counted 20 here, and with that includes the one that is a welcome back. We missed you, by the way, Jonathan. Welcome new members. I don't know how many are in online or in person, but hey, welcome to the, in my opinion, and I don't know what that's worth, the greatest astronomy club in America and maybe the world. We have so many resources and so many great people and so many things to share and such a willingness to share that, you're now in a community that is, you ask a question and somebody will help you. And if that person can't help you, then they know somebody that can help you. And if you can't solve the problem after that, then I'm sure you can get enough people together, and there's enough really smart people in this organization that can help you solve your problem. Whether it's anything from buying a new telescope to solving a difficult image train for astrophotography, and that leads us into our session tonight of astrophotography by MAS members. It's going to be great. I looked through the slides this afternoon, and there's some really good imaging by our members. So welcome. And the other part I guess I want to include is new members. There are plenty of opportunities to volunteer and become very active within this organization. There are, I know there are many opportunities to do something that can help you and then help you become a great member and really get something out of the club. There's so many things to do. All you have to do is ask somebody, and if you don't know who to ask, you can start with me. Send me an email, president@mnastro.org, or contact anybody on the board. So every month I like to thank volunteers. In particular, this month, the ELO committee. You guys just completed Camping with the Stars, and from my point of view, it was a success. Other than the little bit of tidbit of unhealthiness due to COVID that I've been hearing, but that's the world we live in these days, and those are the downfalls of getting together in groups. And for whatever reason, we had some contamination there, but that's like I say, that's the world we live in these days. We have to be aware and take care of each other. So, and also I know the LLC committee is in the midst of prepping for NNSF. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I mean, all of those people involved in that. There are people that work in the view of the public and those that work in the background for both of these organizations to pull these things off, that it doesn't happen by magic, and it doesn't just happen by just saying, hey, there's an event, and it just gets taken care of. There's volunteers that are working to pull this off. So thank you, all of you. Jerry Jones, the floor is yours. You guys will have to turn the microphone on there for Jerry, because we can't hear him online.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I have really some positively delightful opportunities this evening that I get to share with you, and we actually have a milestone that we're going to reach. But first and foremost, I have the awards I have to hand out are to 3 individuals this evening, and the first one, John, come on up, John Zimmich, who has gained the silver level of the Library Telescope Award. Congratulations, John.
Thank you.
Would you be kind enough to tell people a little bit what was involved in doing that?
Okay, well, I decided to do the Library Telescope program in line with, I do an outreach program at a local elementary school, and the students, when I found out about the Library Scope program, I thought that would be a great opportunity to integrate that into my outreach program at the school. And so actually, Mark Jobe helped me out considerably. I saw that he was involved with the Library Telescope program, a number of them that he did, and he put me in line. It's a very well organized, very well thought out. There's number of resources. Now, me personally, I didn't raise funds. I just bought the telescope because I was donating it to the program myself. And we end up getting an Orion, just a 4-inch telescope, and modify it. There's special modifications you go to make it foolproof. We remove the eyepieces, we put a zoom eyepiece on, we put thread lock on all the screws, we remove anything or lock anything down that little fingers will touch. And this scope, I introduced it a year and a half ago into the program, and it's been checked out every month since I introduced it. And it's basically 3rd through 6th graders are the majority of the students who check it out, and along with the parents who are enthusiastic with it. I've only had to do minor things to it, nothing really. Thumbprint on the eyepiece is probably the most severe challenge that I had with it. And I know Mark can probably attest, Mark Jobe, that he's had some of these out for years, and tubes are dented or whatever, but they're still collimated and they still function. But the idea is to get this scope into the hands of young children and not have a worry of, don't touch this, be careful what you do, because the real value in this is that it's an easy scope to use. It's a Dob, and they can mess with it. And when they actually find the moon, which most of us think, oh, that's no big deal. But I've watched these kids find the moon, and it's absolutely, it blows them away. And then they look in there and it's there, it's a red dot finder on it. And it's very rewarding, the program. And I've received much good feedback from it.
Awesome. Thank you. Congratulations on that. And for any of you who would like additional information on the process of the Library Telescope program, feel free to contact either Mark Jobe or John or myself. There are a few others. Mark Boyd is another one who has been involved in the whole Library Telescope project. And it's very, very cool to get telescopes into your public library and or whatever elementary school, and to watch these kids go at them. It's really, really, really pleasant. Okay, the second award is actually one of my favorites, which is the Caldwell Observing Award. Claire, come on up. Applause, applause, applause. This is not an easy one. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And give us a little bit of a hint on just
Okay.
what it was, what it was involved.
Yeah, as I recall, I know Jerry, you did a spiel a while back and you convinced Chris and me to start the Caldwell. And so he finished way before me, but as I recall, it's Patrick Moore, the British astronomer, right? And he put together his own like stuff not in the Messier catalog, like 110 objects that he thought was cool that wasn't in Messier. It's a good mix of deep sky objects, so it's really fun variety. There's northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. I only did the northern hemisphere, but there are even some of those objects. It does help to be a bit further south. So I finally finished it, just doing it here and there over a couple of years when we went to Texas this spring. So yeah, thank you.
And one of the things about the Caldwell that makes it interestingly challenging is that no go-to is allowed. So you got to find them. You got to find them without go-to. Okay. All right. Dave Tosteson, get your physical personage up here, would you please? So, okay, David's been a busy boy these last year. And any of you who read the Reflector will know Dave from a couple of different things. First of all, we will all have read his erudite articles, which are such a delight to read. And we've also noticed that in the last number of editions in the back, we've seen his name crop up multiple times for projects that he has completed multiple times. And so, I don't know, I think I have like 85 to give to you tonight. But I'm going to kind of cut to the chase here. So the ones I have in front of me are the Astronomical League and AAVSO Binocular Variable Star Program. Congratulations. Applause, applause, applause. The Astronomical League Sketching Observing Program. Applause, 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 which is not easy, by the way. That one's a challenge. And here's one of the very cool ones. I know we have at least one other in our club, which would be Anton Gregory. We might have more. I should have checked that before I came. But Dave recently gained the Astronomical League Binocular Master Observer Certificate. Congratulations, David. And there's more. So I have two other ones sitting here, staring at me. Here they are for the camera. You can notice that they're two different colors. And the reason why they're two different colors is because one is silver and the other is gold, kind of like Friends, you know, that song, Make New Friends. And but this one is not so cool. We have a few of these in our club. This says Astronomical League Master Observer Silver Certificate is presented to Dave Tosteson. Congratulations, Dave, for becoming our, I don't know, 4th Silver Master Observer. So congratulations, that. Applause, applause, applause. But there's more. This is the one that is really cool. This is the one that sets us apart from really the rest of the clubs, because we have the largest number of silver observers in the club, as well as this one. Dave Tosteson, congratulations. You are Minnesota Astronomical Society's very first gold level master observer. Congratulations. And please, if you take a second and share a little bit about, you have a lot of things to share, so, you know, cut it short, but give us a little bit of some erudite thoughts on the whole process.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Jerry is a silver and he's an inspiration. So I retired about a year ago, July of last year. And I had some of these partway done, but a lot of them I hadn't had done. And so that was going to be my fall. And I didn't realize at the time, but winter and spring and now into the summer project. So I think I've done 15 in the last year. And I had to take Jerry out, you know, for an event to say thank you to him, to bribe him, to keep him doing it. But yeah, this is great. I mean, I encourage everybody who likes to do these kind of lists, the Caldwell list. I was lucky enough to do 12, 13, 14 years ago when Patrick Moore was still alive. And at that time, the coordinator out in New Jersey, I think she maybe still is, would send the certificates to him and he would sign it. And they take a picture of him signing it with my name on it or your name on it. So I have that picture sent along with the actual certificate. So that was really fun. And then, I mean, all these things like sketching, I don't draw much, but my son's an artist. And so we went to an art supply store and got all this art supply and he's telling me all these things. And I got the sketching book and I'd never done any variable stars. My friend Tim Parson, who I go to Texas Star Party with all these, events, huge, tens of thousands of variable stars. So I did 60 and that's what you need to do the observation. And I thought it was really interesting. And now Ken is an imager and that's what tonight is. That's part of another level award. And I know nothing about imaging, so I'm learning a lot about Ken. So you learn a lot about things you never knew about. So I encourage people to do some things they've never done before.
Thank you, Dane. Well done. It is a pleasure and an honor to have a gold master observer in our midst. All right, I'm done with this part. Back to you, Mark. Mark? Hello?
No,
Mark?
Jerry. No, Jerry. No, Jerry. It's you again. This is your thing. Get out there and observe.
Mark,
And
that's
now you're going to do Better Know a Constellation.
I am. So this is the one that I was going to give last month. Those of you remember, and we didn't. I felt we didn't have time, and then all of a sudden we did have time. But then, oh well, the moment was past. So typically, what Better Know a Constellation is about, surprisingly enough, getting better to know a constellation. But I had an experience a number of months ago that I wanted to share within this spot, and it was, those of you who know me, you will find this very, very surprising. It was a wonderful experience with the moon. Those of you who know me know I typically hate the moon. See, so even someone on someone's phone is agreeing with me that I hate the moon. And what's odd is that I have done the Lunar One and I've done Lunar Two, and I'm in the process of doing Lunar Evolution. Which, by the way, do you have those slides too, Mark? Never mind, Mark. But I found, yep. I'm in the other one now, so we can go back. You can go back to the other ones. Thank you. But I found, I discovered a book that I want to share with you. Go back to the other ones, Mark.
No, this is your slide deck. Here we go. See?
Okay.
Watch
All right,
this.
well,
Watch this, Jerry.
Yep. So we'll go with this. Go back to the first one. There you go. Thank you. So I'm going to take a small detour and back up just a little bit. And that is, before I share with you my experience with the moon, I want to give you a very brief introduction. Those of you who have not considered this, the Astronomical League observing programs that deal specifically with the moon. And then I'm going to share with you my experience, which is kind of cool. Okay, next slide. Now, some of you may know that I am the Minnesota Astronomical Society Astronomical League coordinator. That's why I'm up here giving these awards. This happens to be some of the things the Astronomical League does for us. It is our parent organization. It's composed of over 240, I just lost the slide, over 240 different organizations around the country. Actually, I'm sure there's quite more now. And one of the things that the Astronomical League does for us as members is they provide observing programs. And if you wonder what to do with your observing time, and if you are kind of a list person and you like goals, you need to look at the website and you take a look and find out that they have well over 60 projects. Dave Tosteson, as our gold master observer, has done well over 30 of them. How many have you done, Dave? 33? 38? You're getting near your platinum. which is pretty cool, and so that is one of the things that the Astronomical League does for us. Next slide, please. So in the lunar program, lunar projects, there are 3 of them: Lunar One, which is on the left; Lunar Two, which is in the middle; and Lunar Evolution, which is the 3rd one. And these are the pins that you gain when you complete these projects. Next slide. So briefly about the Lunar One. Here's the Lunar One program. It has 3 different elements: naked eye, binocular, telescope. 18 of one, 46 of another, 36 of another. There's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of freedom. If you can't find something with your eye, you can go to the binocular. If you can't find something with binocular, you can go to the telescope. There are even some 10 optional objects if you can't find anything on the list. The logging for this one is the easiest I've ever seen any logging. You just check the box and that's it. And so it's very easy. The whole purpose is to just open your eyes to what's on the surface of the moon, what can be looked at. 100 objects total. So once you're done, actually, it's pretty cool. You know quite a lot of them. Next slide. So here, the Lunar 2 is another 100 objects, and it's much harder. It's more than twice as hard. It's about 3 times harder than Lunar 1, and appropriately so. It is really the next level. It is all telescopic. And it really helps to have a larger telescope, because a larger telescope is going to give you more resolution. The image is already bright to begin with. And so more often you wind up using some sort of filter to lower the brightness. But a larger telescope gives you better resolution, which, if you've got good seeing, really helps to find some of the smaller detail. One of the things about this project, which is both challenging, cool, and annoying, is that it's really centered around mostly what's going across the terminator, which is the line of shadow that goes across the face of the moon. And the reason for that is because most of detail is seen at the terminator. Shadows really bring out all sorts of different detail. So it's a very cool project in the sense you're always looking in the terminator, but it can be a frustrating project in the sense that you need to know where things are going to be at the terminator, when things are going to be at the terminator. And one of the best helps I have found, Matt Waddell, many of us know Matt Waddell from, he does the binocular, a little binocular short blurb on the in the middle, in the sky and telescope, the star wheel. His article is on the lower right hand corner, and it's always very interesting. Gives you a couple blurbs about what you're looking for. Well, he has a website called 10 Minute Astronomy, and in there he has graciously devised observing booklets for quite a number of the Astronomical League projects. And one of the best ones, I think, is his on Lunar 2, because he designed it all by day. You don't get that designations if you just look at the project itself. You need to figure out, well, what day is this one on? What day is that one on? What's the best time to look at this? Matt's done all that work for you, and he lays it out beautifully. And you can just print the puppy off and go for it. It makes the Lunar 2 about 10 times easier just by doing that. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in that, do get to his website and go for that. And obviously, summer is a great time to look at the moon. Yes, we have mosquitoes, but that's why God made thermocell. So we can deal with mosquitoes to some degree. But it's comfortable. You're not out there in 20 below zero weather trying to look at something while your nose is getting frozen to your eyepiece. Next slide. So here is the 3rd one, and this is not I have not done this one yet, but I'm looking very seriously at doing it. It's a combination of knowledge and observation orientation. If anyone's done the Stellar Evolution project, it's much like that in the sense you have a fair amount of research you need to do ahead of time. You learn about the background of the particular project, and then you go ahead and then you observe. So the essence of the project includes knowledge gained from the Apollo programs, not only just in the geology, but also the location. So one of the things you need to do is you view, sketch, or image all the Apollo landing sites. The second thing is you must view, sketch, and image 50 lunar objects and estimate their geological timescale. And those are the different epochs. And I don't know how difficult it is. I don't think it's going to be terribly difficult, especially if you do enough work up front. And there are actually quite a number of books out there. As I was looking at it carefully, quite a number of books that can make things really quite clear as to where things are, when things occurred, when were these craters, when do these craters occur, all of those sorts of things. So I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. I haven't quite done enough research ahead of time, but if you're kind of a combination quasi armchair astronomer and observer astronomer, I think this might be very much a program for you. Next slide. Okay, so here was my experience. Once I finished both the Lunar 1 and Lunar 2, I had done a lot of the moon. But one day I had decided to I picked up this book. There it is, Discover the Moon. And just for fun, I decided to go through it. And I was blown away by how much fun this book made looking at the moon. It's like having your very own travel guide for a place that you can only go visually. So I used the Discover the Moon and any moon map. I happen to use the Moon Globe HD. It comes on my iPad. Looks like that for those of you who are looking at it in the webcam. I find that the two of them tremendously helpful. The nice thing about Moon Globe HD is it uses lunar reconnaissance orbiter images, so they're clean, and because they've had so many lunar reconnaissance orbiter images, you are able to place the terminator wherever you want it to be, so you get the shadows where you want them to be on a particular night. So go to the next slide. So this is how the book is designed. Now, my apologies for just the way we had to do this. This was set for a month ago, and a month ago, on the first Thursday of the month, the moon was on evening 8. And you can see here, this is how the book is designed. It's designed by days, by lunar days or lunar evenings. And so it gives you all this cool stuff that is very near the terminator. And if you'll notice, there are 2 pages. This is back to front, just like this. On the left side, you see telescopes that are refractors or Schmidt-Cassegrains. And on the right side, it's telescopes that are Dobbs Newtonian reflectors. And obviously, because of the number of reflections they have, it's flipped in different ways. But so you have both of them. So you don't need to do the mental gymnastics of thinking, well, where are things today? You know, what am I doing? You know, blah, 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 blah. They're all right there. And you can see that there are boxes. And those boxes with the numbers, the top box has a 2, and it has an A in there, and a 3 and a 1. They relate to a set at the lower right hand, which it's hard to see. Unfortunately, the resolution of the photograph is not very clear, but it says for box A, see pages 86 to 87, for box B, page 88 to 89, and so on. Now, if you go to the next slide. So here's the next page. So this is everything about that box A. Why don't you go back to the post slide, the first slide, and you see how that's that little section that you can't see very well because it's in the light of the crease. My apologies there. Okay, go back to the next slide. And so there's deeper information. Now, what is cool about this is that if you're lost or confused or can't quite find it, that's when a moon map really comes in handy. And then either whether it's a paper map or whether it's something that uses the lunar reconnaissance orbiter images, you find it, then you go back to the book. And what's cool about the book is the book tells you why it's there. This is interesting because, oh, this is a really unique feature on the moon because, and it's all of us have been to a place we've never been to before. And some of us have been there without a guide. And, you know, you look around, you think, oh, this is really cool, man. Wish I knew what I was looking at. And then we've been to those places where we have a guide saying, oh, by the way, this over here is that, and that over here is this, and this happened over here because of that, and that happened. You know, you get information and you go, wow, that's really cool. That's what this book does. This book gives you guide information about why you are seeing what you're seeing, why it's in there. And I found that to be the best part of the book. Yes, it's cool to see them. yes, it's really cool to have that information and have that visual, but it's really cool, I think, for them to say little things like, did you notice that this crater, like just last night I was using it and I was looking at forgot the name of the crater, and the book note mentioned, and in the center of the crater there are two 500-meter peaks, which is pretty small for a lunar peak. And I thought, wow, really? So I popped in another eyepiece and yeah, there they were. As a seeing last night was a little funky, but in moments of clear seeing, I could see them. I would never have looked for those two if it hadn't been for the tour guide book that told me to look for them. So that is just absolutely cool. The whole book is set from day 1 to day 14. So it goes all the way from new moon to full moon. And then obviously, if you've missed anything, you can go back. You just need to flip the days and recognize then that the day after full moon would be day 14, and the day just before new moon would be day 1. So I would encourage you, and remember, those of you who know me are, may still be trying to pull their jaws off the ground, because here I am encouraging you to look at the moon. From someone who typically hates the moon because it gets in the way of really cool things I would much rather see, I got to say, with the right amount of direction, the moon is really cool. It's really cool. So with that, go to the last slide. Oh, thank you. These are images from the Moon Globe HD. That's the image with the one on the left is the image with the identification, and the one on the right is the image without identification. You can turn them off back and forth. Go to the next slide. And this is a much closer image. And you can see these are beautiful images. And this is available for the iPad. It's not terribly expensive, if at all. I would fully imagine there's something in Google Play and other places for this. So that's what these images look like. Those are actual screenshots. Okay, and with that, last slide, which is supposed to say, now get out there and observe. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. I don't think there's any questions online. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying into this whole moon thing yet. So, all right. Moving along. Uh-oh, I broke my computer. Moving along. Next meeting, held in the same format as a hybrid meeting. In person at the Fairview Community Center. We'll also have it available online in Zoom. So hope to see you all there.
Hey, Mark.
Hang on. Yes, Matt.
Trina contacted me, asked to just mention that for those who are here, if any of you, Bernie, I think maybe looking for a sky meter, that'll be delayed a little bit, and Trina's going to work on getting them from you, I guess. So
yes, we're talking to Trina, so we'll work something out. So those of you that have ordered sky quality meters, I know who you are. We'll work something out. We'll figure out a way. If I have to drive them or ship them, I'll certainly do that, and I'll just take care of that. Just a reminder, Slack is still available, and if you are interested in joining that channel, Slack at mnastro.org. You just have to send an email and let them know you're interested, and off you go. And this is a private, secure, members only thing. You have to be a member to be part of this, and that's how we're running it. We're also on YouTube, so sometime in the next few days, I will edit this video down and post it up to YouTube, and it'll be available for everyone to see. And I've been seeing about 30 to 40 views every month after it's posted between meetings, which, hey, that's cool. That means we're reaching even farther than what we are tonight. I see 47 people on the Zoom call, and I don't know how many people are there live, but that's a reasonable amount, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also really easy to search for just Minnesota Astronomical Society on YouTube if you want. That URL was cute, but I don't know if it'll help much.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's easier, and once you do it a few times, it's there. Anton, are you on tonight? The floor is yours to talk about the Lunar School program. So I guess I haven't detected that Anton is on. I didn't look. But my understanding is that, this is a very popular program. There are scopes available. And if they're not available, you can reserve them by going online to the Lunar School program on our website, filling out the form, and Anton gets it. And when the scope you've requested comes available, he contacts you, and you guys work out the details to meet him in his driveway and make the exchange. And as far as I know, that works. We've had a ton of loans this year already, and I believe that we just brought another scope into the stable, so to speak, that I don't know how close it is to being ready to go, but I know that we have another one. So that's really cool. So it's a great program, and I know it's a great place for beginners and new members to start. It's where I started 10, 11 years ago. I borrowed one of these, and that's kind of led me down this rabbit hole that I am today, where I have more than a handful of scopes. So fill out a form if you're looking for a scope, and that goes, you don't have to be a new member or even a beginner. If there's old members, and when I say old members, long-time members, I'm talking to you guys too. If there's something that's available that you want, you certainly can ask for it. It's not just for new people. Just a note about COVID, especially in light of the activities at Camping with the Stars and CGO this past weekend. It's known that there is about 4 people that have come down with COVID after attending these events. So, I mean, I've had COVID. I was at a meeting and unknowingly was contaminated already, but wasn't feeling any symptoms. So just because you're not feeling it doesn't necessarily mean you have it. And to this day, I still don't know where I got it. But luckily, as far as I know, didn't pass it on to anyone. So I think the biggest thing is if you're feeling bad, stay home. And if you've been around somebody that was feeling bad, please stay home. I don't know what else to do. I mean, I know you can have it and carry it for days and contaminate people all along your path. There's nothing we can do about that. That's the world we live in these days, and we just have to take precautions and make sure that we minimize the spread. I don't know what else to say. So before the next meeting, there's a few events going on in the sky that I have listed here. Jerry, there's your full moon. I know how much you like that. That's cool. The important one for me is this opposition to Saturn. I'm excited about that because that means then that, as a reasonable time after dark, it's going to be high in the sky and we're going to be able to see it. So that's kind of cool. And I'm looking forward. Jupiter's going to follow after that. And, it's only going to get better as we get farther and farther into fall and winter. So, Mercury at greatest elongation, greatest that's eastern elongation. That's kind of cool. That makes it highest in the sky later this month. It's in the evening, and then our meeting on September 1st. That's the Thursday before Labor Day. So we're looking forward to that. All right, moving along. Things that are happening in the next month. BSIG, Metcalf Field. I believe that that's going to be tomorrow night and not Saturday night.
Either night looks good right now. If we're looking like we're going to cancel it, but I'll make the call tomorrow.
All right, Suresh, I'll have you on in a couple seconds. I want you to talk some more about how the summer's been going. And then Eagle Lake Star Party Saturday night. That doesn't look good at all. I'm sad to say that would be kind of fun. And then really the main event is Northern Nights Starfest up there at Long Lake Conservancy. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a great time, as it is every year, and we'll talk about that more just shortly. Here you go, Suresh. Here's your own slide right here.
Okay. Well, I guess the weather's not looking too good for this weekend. Saturday looks like it might rain, actually. We're holding out hope that we get a window tomorrow night, Friday night, about a 2 or 3 hour window around dusk or sunset. And if that comes true, then we'll go ahead and have it tomorrow. Otherwise, we have to cancel for this weekend.
How's the rest of the summer been going, Suresh?
It's been going great. We had a really big event in July. We had over 100 people attend for the first time. And we have now we have our traffic committee that helps with people's parking and all that. And we're able to fit 100 people at the Metcalf site, which is pretty amazing in itself. But I think we had 35 telescopes or so. A lot of volunteer help from members. So thank you guys for coming out. But we've been averaging, I think, probably around 70 so far this summer, give or take. And so I was really looking forward to having another one this weekend, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen.
So you're getting 50 to 75 cars parked on Metcalf Field?
I don't know if it's that many because people bring their children and their spouses and such. And last month we had a Boy Scout troop attend, and they had maybe 15 in that group.
Okay, cool.
And so I don't know if it's that many cars. It's probably in the vicinity of 30 to 40 cars, which is about as many telescopes as we have on the field. So.
Yeah, right. So that's exactly where I was going. I mean, it's been a long time since I was at Metcalf Field, but I know that's, I mean, it's not huge, I mean, it's, so you put cars on there and people and telescopes.
Yeah,
it's
the rule that we have is if you have a telescope, you park on the north side because then you get a better south. If you don't have a scope, you park on the south, and if you need to leave early, you park straight ahead and then reverse in. That seems to work pretty well. We had a couple of people, I believe, park on the road, maybe like 2 or 3, just because they were leaving early or something. But we made it work.
Yep, excellent, Suresh. You do a great job with this program, and as the president of this organization, and I'll speak for all members, is that this is most likely is where you begin if you're a beginner and a new member. I know 10 years ago I started with this program, and it's a great place to start to set your cornerstone for your observing plans, and whatever path you go. It's a great place to start. So thank you, Suresh, and all your volunteers. I mean, I know you're not doing it alone. I know you have a team, and it's sounds like it's very well organized, and thank you very much. We the MAS appreciate that.
Appreciate it, guys.
So a special announcement, kind of in with LLCC and their creation of it, or they're putting together the program for NNSF. Greg Humbrecht actually asked me to reach out to Starlight Instruments and find out if we could make some arrangement to obtain a discount coupon for MAS members, and I've succeeded. As of yesterday, I've been working with the president, Dina Joseph. She's taken over for her husband. Her husband passed away a little bit more than a year ago. And she's taken over the company, and the company is still thriving, is doing just fine. She's in charge. She knows what's going on. She knew that this was something that her husband John wanted to do. Is he wanted to start opening it up and giving discounts to clubs, but for some reason it never ever took off and never ever got done. So she asked me some things, and I kind of helped her out and said, hey, how about this? So she's offering us, well, Starlight Instruments is offering us a 10% discount on all orders from today. So if you place an order after this meeting or even during this meeting and use the coupon code Club10, you are going to get 10% off your order every day until September 30th. And as an owner of more than 5 telescopes, I have feather touch, I think, on just about all of them. So I'm a firm believer of them. That's if you've ever handled one, you know they're as smooth as butter, and they hold pretty well. And I know the club owns several of them. There's, I know there's 2 telescopes, maybe 3 telescopes at ELO, 4 telescopes at ELO that have them on. I'm sure the one at JJC also is the same. So support them. They're part of us. They're supporting us. So it's kind of cool. Upcoming events: Northern Lights Starfest. Ken, I want you to step up to the mic because I want you to take care of talking about that. But first, I want to talk about Michael Copper and his event that he has September 3rd, starting at 8:30 at Kenwood Park in Minneapolis. I've been talking to Michael, and it sounds like this is a deal that he says it's a beautiful park, it's a safe park, and he wants to do some urban astronomy right there at that park. He's looking for some volunteers. He said he could use some telescopes to help him out. So if you live in the city, maybe you want to consider that. There's an opportunity to get out and spend some time in the city and do some outreach. And he says this guy is, sure, it's urban, but it's reasonably acceptably dark that you can see some things. And he says he's done this before and it works. So that being said, if you have any questions, contact Michael. I will bring this up again next month at the September 1st meeting. And that thing starts at 8:30. And I think it's going to go till 10:30. I think that's when you're probably going to get chased out of the park by local law enforcement. So Ken, if you're at the podium, which I see you are, let's talk Northern Lights Starfest.
Hey, Mark.
Hang
Sorry,
on.
Ken. Michael just put in the chat that the park people are not happy about that, so it's probably not going to happen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. Watch the newsletter that we put out every week. We'll put something in there if this is going to be a no-go. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right, Ken, the floor is yours. Let's talk NNSF.
All right, Northern Lights Starfest. It starts on Wednesday. Is that the 24th or the 25th? I'm not sure that date's right up there.
That is the 24th.
So it is August 24 through the 29th. So it starts Wednesday and it goes all the way, and you can actually observe Sunday night and leave Monday morning if you want. Registration is open. There's a lot of rooms left. Right now we've got about 38 people signed up to go. The rooms are actually pretty nice. They have bunk beds, but everybody sleeps on the lower bunk and you just put your stuff on the top bunk. There's hot showers in each of the rooms. The food is really good every year. We have a midnight snack for everybody each night. So that's pretty good. So get out there and sign up if you can.
Is there a deadline, Ken? Ken, is there a deadline to sign up?
Well, they're ordering the food relatively quickly. So I would say sign up as soon as you can so they know how much food to order. If everybody waits to the last minute, then, they may not have ordered enough food and stuff. So they like to try and get everybody registered, you know, at least 2 weeks in advance if you can. So time is getting short.
Yeah, so by maybe next Friday, you probably, if you should try and be registered by next Friday, the 12th. That gives them 12 days to order food.
Yep, that'd be very good if you could do that. We do have several speakers lined up for this year. Jerry Jones will be talking, Dave Faulkner. Astro Bob is coming back to give some lectures for us. John Marchetti's working on some other speakers for us. What else? We'll be doing some training for key holders, people that want to be key holders up there. We'll be doing training for that.
Anything changed, Ken? Anything different out of the ordinary because there's new management up there? Is there anything that we have to think about or worry about? What do we need to bring for if we're staying in the in one of the rooms?
Yeah.
Things like that.
They do not provide sheets or bedding and stuff like that. So you want to, you know, bring your own sheets, bedding, bring your own pillow, bring your own towels for taking a shower and stuff. There's no coffee makers or fridge or anything in your rooms, but there's coffee maker in the kitchen that's pretty much running all the time. Once again, you can sign up for meals. There's brunch and dinner and then the midnight snack. Let's see what else. There is camping available. So if you want to camp, you can pitch a tent or bring a camper. There's only 110 power hookups, no sewer hookups or anything, no water hookups, just 110 voltage hookups.
I did that last year, by the way. I did that last year, and it was phenomenal. Even though there was no, even though you only had about 7 or 10 amps or something like that, that was plenty for me. And as long as you plan ahead and you have a camper, you certainly have, you have water for taking care of yourself there. But then, can you have, you set aside a one room, I think, that is showers for campers, correct?
Right, yeah, there's a designated room for showers for people that camp and stuff. So there's that there. During the day, we encourage people to do solar observing, stuff like that. We have some lectures during the day, and then on Thursday and Friday night, or Friday and Saturday night, excuse me, we have a featured speaker at 7 p.m. And then we give away some door prizes as well. And we got some pretty good door prizes this year. We got some good certificates from some different vendors and stuff. And then we've got some mini binoculars and headlamps and stuff like that they'll be giving out. And some MAS merchandise that Merle's pointing at in the back room right now. So any other questions or anything?
I think you did a great job. Thanks, Ken. We look forward to having some fun up there. Look, it should be a great event. All right, moving along. So I'm sure everybody knows that the MAS is turning 50. And there's a crew that is planning and scheming to put together a program for a 50th anniversary celebration. We're gonna kick it off, and we're gonna move the October meeting to September 29th. We're gonna start at 6:30 p.m. because then that gives us 2.5 hours, because the community center kind of likes us to be out of there by 9, which I know we sometimes stretch that, and it's like 9:15, 9:20, 9:30, something like that. And we don't want to wear out our welcome there either, but I have asked and have secured the space for September 29th. I have been in contact with Carol Org from the AL, the current president, and he has tentatively agreed to be our speaker, be our keynote speaker. But along with that, the first 2.5 hours, not 2.5 hours, I'm sorry, hour and a half, 90 minutes, I think is what we're limiting to, is going to be a review of the 50 years in the MAS. And we're still working on those specifics as a group. and that will be a pretty good program. I think if we pull it off the way it is, it should cover all the big events and a lot of the history. We're going to involve some people that have been around as much as we can, and then we're thinking about cake. So, I mean, I know we say no snacks, but I mean, try and figure out a solution to that. And then, so stay tuned on that deal. And then on Saturday, we're kind of planning some star parties on Friday night too, but the big party is going to be October 1st, which is Saturday, following that kickoff meeting. That is also Astronomy Day at Eagle Lake. So we've already got our tentative program kind of set up here, as you see on the screen. Dave Faulkner and Ahmed and Carol, again, we're trying to get Carol to stay for a couple extra days and spend the weekend with us, and do another presentation out there at ELO. And then, Astronomy Day always comes with a raffle and things like that. So Merle and Lila, who are typically responsible for lining up prizes and things for the drawing and stuff like that, that's all going to happen normal, just like Astronomy Day. I'm sorry, I forgot a very important part there. We are also working on getting a food truck to come out, so that dinner break will be a social event then, and where we will be able to have a food truck pull up to one of the shelters out there, and hopefully we're gonna have barbecue. Maybe the same group that was out that served for ElkCon a few years ago. That sounded like that was a hit. So I've been talking to them. I haven't secured them yet, but we had to work out some details between the park and them, and insurance and liability and all that. So we'll get that worked out. And then, we'll come back from dinner. We'll have the speaker, and we'll have a raffle. And then by 9 p.m., we should be able to have a laser light show with Ron. And we're just going to have fun. And then what I haven't included in my slides is that the final end, or the end of the celebration, will be then our November meeting. I don't recall what date that is exactly, but the November meeting, we're going to have another special speaker come in, and we'll talk about that later. I'll add to this slide deck as we go along, because I'm not 100% sure that speaker's been confirmed yet, but it's the plan is a pretty good one. So we're looking forward to that. So that's the plan. Stay tuned. It's a little bit fluid yet. We'll put it in the freezer a little bit and freeze it up a little bit. As always, a call for Gemini articles. Father Brown, prides himself about members writing for the members. And I see I have a spelling error, but he's currently looking for stories from founding members or even longtime members. If you've been a longtime member of this organization, consider writing a story about your experiences with this club. And he certainly wants to publish that. He wants to publish it in the last two editions of the year. So that would be what would that be? The October and the December issues. And he's got deadlines there: September 10th, November 10th. If you have any questions, please reach out to Father Brown, and he'll take it from there. He'll help you, guide you along the way. And I know he does editing, and I don't think he charges too much. So get your articles into Father Brown. Just a reminder that if you have something that you would like to disperse to the membership, have that information into Trina, our secretary, by Thursday, the previous Thursday, so that she can organize it and get it in a format that she can email out through our MailChimp. And then I don't know where she is, or if she actually put that solid deadline in for the end of July. about updating the mailing list. But if you're on the fence and she's knocked you off the list and you want to be on the list, send her an email that says "keep me subscribed" in the subject line so that she adds you back. But I believe currently, if you are a member, I believe that you are going to get that email. So next meeting, September 1st, Ahmed has been frantically working to find somebody. He told me he's got like a half a dozen emails out, but nobody's talking to him. So he'll come up with something. There's some kind of plan he's got. So we'll just stay tuned. Oops, forgot to delete that slide. Sorry. So this month is all about MES members and astrophotography. Ahmed put the word out. I had a slide last month about it. It went out in the emails and things like that. So we've got slides. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm first. So here's my image of M8. And what I'm going to do when I'm finished is I have a list in front of me. I will announce who's up next, and who's up next is Doug Neverman. And then when I announce Doug, I'll say who's up next after that. So it's kind of like now at bat is Mark Jobe, and on deck is Doug Neverman, and that's the way I will run this. And those of you that are in person, you certainly just have to get in front of the microphone there in Roseville. And if you're online and I tell you you're on deck, you start looking for your unmute button so that you can take over the show when the person that is in front of you is finished. So this is my image of M8. I captured this from my remote observatory in Texas. I was looking at the dates of when I did it, and it looks like it was sometime early as it was rising in April and May, and it just doesn't even get very high there. I know it doesn't get very high here, but at least there it gets to like 32, 33 degrees, something like that. For me, it's very difficult because I have to fight the wall of my observatory and the trees that are to the south, which are about on the same line as my field of view. But here are the details. I captured it with a Stellar View 130. I used a ZWO ASI 294 monochrome camera with a filter wheel. This is only an RGB image. I only used the RGB filters. There are the acquisition details there, 13, 14, 16 of 5-minute subframes. And all of these frames were unguided for 5 minutes, and and then they were processed in PixInsight. It's nothing more than that. It sounds kind of simple, but anybody that's worked with images know that the tricky part for me obviously is manipulating and running this scope from 1,200 miles away. That's the fun part. So this was taken at Stellar Skies in Pontotoc, Texas. And for those of you that don't know where Pontotoc is, it is about 90 minutes northwest of Austin. They call that the what do they call it? It's not the foothills, but it's something like that. It's the hill country. That's what it is. And all it is it's ranch after ranch after ranch. That's, and cattle. And it's kind of on the edge of the wet side of Texas and the dry side of Texas, so there's the desert-ish that's to the west, and the more humid, more wet part of the east, where Austin and San Antonio and Houston and that whole bit all live closer to the Gulf. I'd say we're kind of on that line. And if you look at a satellite map, you can kind of see that. You can see where the green meets the brown, and that's about where we are. So, all right, Doug, you're up next. And after that, it's on on deck is Rodrigo Rausch, I believe it is. Take it away, Doug.
Hello, everybody. This is the Veil Nebula in the constellation Cygnus. It is a supernova remnant and consists of ionized gas and dust. It is approximately 2,400 light years distance with a radius of about 65 light years. It is the home of several catalog objects, including the Eastern Veil, the Western Veil, the Filamentary Nebula, and Pickering's Triangle. Pickering, I'm reminded of Jerry Jones' presentation at NNSF last year about Pickering, which was really good. Pickering's Women, I believe it was. The nebula was discovered on the 5th of September in 1784 by William Herschel. While it looks like a circle, the remnant is actually an expanding shell, three-dimensional sphere, basically. We are only seeing it as a circle because the shell is only about 4 billion miles wide. And when we're looking directly onto it, you can't see the shell that's actually coming towards us. You see much of that because of the undulations in the surface. This is a dim object and generally requires an O3 filter to see visually. I have not tried it, but some say if it can be seen with the naked eye through an O3 filter, someone may try that when we go up to NNSF and see if that actually works. This is a large object. I took this image with an 80 millimeter stellar view refractor with an ASI 1600 millimeter camera. That combination gives me a field of view of approximately 2 by 1.5 degrees. The veil is about 3 degrees in diameter. So I had to take 9 panels of pictures and stitch them together to cover it all. This is a narrowband, excuse me, this is a narrowband image using HA O3 and S2 filters. These were combined with the S2 assigned to red, the HA assigned to green, and the O3 assigned to blue. There's a total of about 37 hours of images that were taken and combined to complete the image. It took a while to gather those images, particularly in light of the quality measures that I had imposed on the images that I took. I won't say how many hours of images I threw out. I probably don't really want to know. I did go back and look at an analysis I did, and there were probably 4 nights when I should have just stayed home because I didn't get any pictures out of those particular nights. What I do know is that the process of putting quality measures on there forced me to improve my imaging rig and the procedures that I had. And as time went on, my yield from any one night went up. The image, actually, the final image is 11,000 by 8,000 pixels. And when saved as a 16-bit TIFF, the file size is about 541 megabytes, a very large file. And I actually tried to send this out to be printed, and the file is too large for me to send to them. So I got to figure out some other way. I was asked once why I just didn't use a shorter lens to get it all in one shot. And the answer for me is threefold. First, I would have lost detail when moving from 1 arc second per pixel to 3 arc seconds per pixel. Second, the resulting file gives me the opportunity to move to a larger print media. I can make this picture very, very large without losing any details. And third, there is a challenge in planning, gathering images, and processing the images that I particularly enjoy. My capture software for this was Sequence Generator Pro, and I process it in PixSight Insight. I don't know if there's any questions. Hearing none, I'll mute.
Hey, Doug, I had a question.
Sure.
This is Conrad. How did you stitch it? How did you stitch that together?
I used there's a couple ways in PixInsight to do that. What you actually do is make a template. You do an astrometric solution to get the RA and deck locations, and then you stitch them together using that information. But you make a template, and then you map your images always up to that template, and then there's another tool in PixInsight that then brings it all together and combines them. And the real trick is to try to get the edges of the pictures when you go from one picture to the next picture. There's overlap.
Right.
The trick is to feather that properly so that the stars that are in that edge don't do strange things to you. It took me quite a while to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Rodrigo, you are up. And Chris Sentinus, you're next. You're on deck.
Hello. So actually this is we call the Little Veil Nebula in Cygnus, but also it's actually a supernova remain. It's actually quite large. I would just it also is a very, very challenging object because it's very dim. So the picture is actually composed for different sharpless objects. So you have a sharpless 91, sharpless 94, and sharpless 96. And so depends on well, it's hard to explain there. But so this picture actually, I wanted to take it from some time ago, and it's actually hydrogen alpha and oxygen, where the red channel was assigned to the hydrogen alpha, and then the blue and the green was assigned to the oxygen. It was taken with a camera lens at Rokinon 135, and basically I use very long exposures. So for the hydrogen alpha, I use about 600 seconds or 10 minutes. And for the oxygen, about 15 minutes. So the whole picture is 31 hours and 30 minutes in total. So I use a combination of softwares for this one. I like to stack still in Deep Sky Stacker, and then I do other noise reduction and background calibration with PixInsight, and then I do the rest of post-processing with Adobe Photoshop. So, have any question?
All right, Rodrigo, your pictures, you have the next one also.
Oh, okay. So
you have a series. You have a series of 4 or 5, I believe, here. So
yeah, okay. So the next one is also taking this. Well, it's a combination of different objects too. Some time ago, I worked in just one that is called the Saline object, the 1335 or the Shark Nebula. But then I realized that there is so many other nebulas around there. So I decided to do a wide field picture of that. So basically, this one is composed by different sharpless objects also, or lean objects. Is in Cepheus, and it's mostly there is a little bit of a supernova remain in one side, and then you see from left to the side there is kind of an arch. It's called the Wolf Cape Nebula and has a reflection nebula in there. And then you have the next one is the Shark Nebula. And then there is another nebula. I don't remember the one to the far right. That was very interesting. And this picture again, it was 17 hours and 41 minutes total. And it's basically, I took it over about 5 nights. And it's a combination of RGB and hydrogen alpha. So one of the things that I wanted to do is, I read somewhere, and I actually work on that, in that some of this dust actually reflect a portion of the reflection actually reflects in the same wavelength than the hydrogen alpha. So what I did is I did my RGB from a dark site here in Kiwani, not too far away. We have an observatory here also. And then from my backyard, I started doing some hydrogen alpha. So I put about 7 hours of hydrogen alpha and then substitute the red channel of the RGB picture with the hydrogen alpha to form this. So what I did is actually enhance the center of the nebula and also, of course, add the supernova portion of the filament that is on the left. So this also, again, was taken with it 135 millimeters, and then I combined with 2 different cameras. I used the 294 monochrome for the hydrogen alpha and the 294 color for the dark portion of the nebula and the rest of the stars and everything else. So I kind of like to mix them sometimes, just because I like the reflection nebulas that are in the area. And so I'd like to combine the narrowband images and still keep the reflection when it's possible.
Okay, next up.
So this one is a little bit the other extreme. Instead of being super wide field, as you saw that, I used my 10 inches RC, and I added a flat reducer flattener to reduce the focal length, just because I was having issues with exposure time and the star detection. So this is the Eye Nebula. This is actually was a little bit of a challenging to work on that. So basically it's a combination of RGB for the center, hydrogen alpha and oxygen for the core of the nebula. How I have to create, so I took pictures of 60 seconds and 30 seconds, 60 seconds and 2 minutes for the center, and I create a HDR image so the center would be a little bit, will have a little bit of detail. And then I did longer exposures of oxygen and hydrogen alpha. So this makes almost 18 hours total for the combination of that. I use, again, a combination of PixInsight and Photoshop. I use layers in Photoshop to be able to add the center star or the center portion, the color portion, into the center of the object. It's just very, very difficult, because even with when I did this short exposures, it's still very small. I guess I could have used the native focal length of the telescope to get it better, but just the processing represents a little bit of a challenge. But at the end, I think it came decent. It just I spent quite some time on that, but you know, I saw it from other people and it looked very, very nice. Of course, the best one I saw, then I read the fine print, and somebody used the Hubble picture to combine with their narrowband core. So I mean, external layer.
Very good. Very nice, Rodrigo. Next up, this one's yours also.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite objects that I have taken. That actually was suggested by Val in 2020. So the first thing I started doing RGB imaging. I really like it that the HFG1 and the Able 6. So the small planetaries, that is in the center almost is the Able 6, and the one in the left is actually the HFG1. That I have to say, that one is interesting because shows an interesting structure of a planar nebula. It's supposed to be a type F planetary nebula, which means that it appears to be evenly filled, but it has an arc that it has, if you see it, has kind of a portion that is missing, and what they are talking about is that it seems like the interstellar wind is actually expanding towards one direction, showing like a portion is missing. That is in in this case would be, but in the left. So I was trying to understand more about that one, but I realized that it's just a very, very pretty, but also very difficult to take pictures. I didn't realize when I came with the RGB, I realized that first of all, I couldn't see anything in the frames. So I have to just look at the star field. And later on, I realized that, the amount of information wasn't enough. And so this is a 7 hours, but the RGB wasn't enough. So what I ended doing is doing a lot of oxygen to add in that. So this one was a little bit different in the way that I processed that. Instead of adding the oxygen as a part of one of the channels, I actually took about 5 hours of oxygen, and I used oxygen as a luminous layer, and then you just add the RGB on top of that. So it's like making an LRGB image, but the luminance is actually only oxygen. So that actually pulled it very well.
Cool. Thank you, Rodrigo, for sharing. And the next is Chris Setness, and that puts Greg Weiner on deck.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. It's hard to follow those images of Rodrigo's. So this image, this is the first one that shows. Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is labeled where the Cygnus X1 black hole is, and that's pointed to that star with the green circle around it. And my goal for this image was to image the bow shock. So for those who don't know, this black hole has relativistic jets coming off the poles, and those jets are pushing material out of the way, and it creates this material bunches up, and you can see this wave in the image. And that was my primary goal. The secondary goal was the Tulip Nebula, and the fact that the Tulip Nebula is so close to the Cygnus X1 bow shock made it tough to process, because the Tulip Nebula is very bright. The bow shock is very dim. And can you go to the next slide? I assume the image without the label is there. Oh, no, it's not. Well, this is not great. Because it's very easy to see in the image without the label. I wanted it there so you could see it.
Yeah, I don't have the original. I don't have the image without the label.
Okay. Well, that sucks. It's too bad.
So any questions for Chris? All right, moving along. Craig, you're up, and then let's see. Craig's got a series of images. And then, wow, Dave Sjogren is up after that. Or is this yours too, Chris? No, this is Craig's. Is Craig online? Am I still online? How about that?
You are.
All right, so Craig's got a series of pictures. I recognize this is his M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy, and here's his details. He shot that with a 140 refractor and a ZWO one-shot color camera. It looks like he used Nina for acquisition and PixInsight to process. And I think what he means when he says he used the new PSF weighting and stacking, that he processed that through the new version of weighted batch pre-processing. So that, that produces a good master and then from there you have to do more manipulation. Let's see. So 179 subs over 2 nights, 2 minutes each, total of 6 hours. That's pretty good. That's why he gets that detail. Let's see. His next image is, he says that this is a Milky Way mosaic that includes the Trifid Nebula. The Trifid Nebula is right in the middle. So for me, this looks like this is just a slice across there where the Trifid is. And I've shot the Trifid. I know what that's like. I love the little dust on the side. He says that he used a 200 millimeter lens and his same ZWO ASI 294 one-shot color camera. And so it says it's 3 panels. So imagine that split up into 3 separate subframes that he stitched together. And then each of those panels has 12 subframes, and each of the subs within the sub of the panel is 45 seconds each. And it says he shot that at f4. That's pretty darn good. I like it. He shot that from ELO, and that's pretty awesome because that's not high here in Minnesota. And let's see, what's he got here? He's got he describes this one as, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. He used his cell phone, and he's got the details there about the. So let me go back. Let you take that in. So Saturn up there in the upper right-hand corner, and then Jupiter, and then Venus. Oh wait, then Mars, then Venus. Venus is over here in the lower left. So. Hey, look at it, kind of draws a straight line. It's kind of cool. So thank you, Craig. Craig, for some reason, didn't join us tonight. That's cool. That's fine. We took care of him. Dave Sjogren, if you're on. Michael Glazer, you're up next.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. This is just a simple photo done with a point and shoot camera, the Nikon Coolpix P1000. So it didn't involve any stacking or any software. It's just, I take photos to document that I've been at an event. So I guess that's all.
That's a transit of Mercury, everyone.
That's transit of Mercury, right.
Just to put it in perspective. So thank you, Dave.
Yep, you bet.
Let's see, Mike. Mike, you're up next. And then who's after that? Conrad Sanders is up there after that. So here you go, Mike, take it away. Oh, I don't see Michael online. So I've seen this before. He's posted this other places. M81, M82. Everybody recognizes them. Cigar Galaxy and Bode's Galaxy together in one field of view. He says he used Ioptron mount and a William Optics 61 millimeter scope, and he used an ASI 178 one-shot color uncooled camera. And ASI Air. So he's running a computer, a little computer up there on top with his camera and collecting these images. And it looks like, I know Chris Sentinus uses these, Cyril and the StarNet, and I know that's a different way of doing it. And as you all can see, that's a pretty darn good result. So next up, he's got the veil, and I just recently saw he had captured this and he posted it other places, and that veil is cool. I think he shot that again. So he stepped up. He's using a 2600 ASI 2600 Pro, one-shot color camera. So that's, you know, a color camera. And he's using the same telescope. Looks like he got all this in one field of view with his Williams Optic 61 millimeter scope. That's quite impressive. That looks good. I'd take it. And again, it looks like he used the same software for processing. This is the North American Nebula. Is this Michael's? Yeah, so this is Michael's. He again used that ASI 2600 MC Pro as a one-shot color camera, and he also used the filter, so that he's only capturing. Oh, what happened there? The right side picture did not change. So that is so he's using a dual band filter, so he's capturing only the hydrogen alpha and the O3 in the same shot. So it's two very skinny band passes that he's allowing the light to come through. So it's kind of cool. It allows him to shoot on moony nights. So, you know, you could set up two telescopes and observe the moon in one and capture images in the other. There you go, Jerry Jones. I helped you out there. Little plot, little poke for your presentation. This is Conrad. Conrad Sanders then is followed by Phil Ramsey. Phil, you're on deck. Conrad, take it over.
Yeah, so this is, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay.
Conrad.
Okay. So this is M13 Hercules. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. What I've been focusing a lot this summer is, as you all know, I do a lot of hyperstar imaging, and I thought it was time to start shooting from the back of my scope after a number of years. So and it was mostly for galaxies, but I wanted to try it out too, by shooting from the back of my scope, and getting a bigger image. I mean, I've done this before with the hyperstar, but the hyperstar is great, but you know, things are much smaller, and I want to start getting bigger images. So, so yeah, I shot this, you know, from my backyard, in Egan. I'm at about a Bortle 6 here, so it's not too bad. And I didn't use any special filters. I just used the UV IR cut filter. You know, I've done this before, but it's probably one of my better ones compared to what I've done in the past. So I was pretty happy with it. And then if you want to go to the next slide that has my details. Okay, so use my Celestron, good old Celestron, which I've had for so many years. And my only one-shot color camera is 183. Still continue to use my Celestron CGX. And what I've tried this year is I decided to get the Starzona SCT corrector reducer versus using the Celestron reducer, and I've been really happy with it. I like the results much better than using the Celestron. So I don't think I'll ever go back to the Celestron, because I've had such good results with the Starzona corrector. So with that, I'm at about a f7. So it's about 1450 focal length on this scope with the reducer. And the software I used, I have made the plunge from APT to Nina. Absolutely love Nina. Been using it for about a year now. Mostly because I was having trouble getting APT to work with focusing. And I think they have support now for it. I may try it later, but I didn't want to wait, and I jumped to Nina. And then I use good old PixInsight for all my stuff. And then I enhance a little bit with Photoshop Express. So that's the Hercules.
All right, here is your next image.
Yeah, and this is M81, and I've gotten M81 and M82 before, either together with my hyperstar, but I like I said, I wanted to focus on galaxy season. Well, by the time I got everything figured out, a lot of the good stuff like M104 Sombrero was too low, so I wanted to focus on galaxies again, and this was available, you know, for galaxy season or even past galaxy season. It's still up there, good, you know, you still get it pretty good. And again, I used if you want to go to the details on it. Again, my Celestron, same camera, star zona corrector, Nina, and pretty much the same. What I did with M13. So, but I've never gotten a galaxy this big before, so I was really happy with finally getting a galaxy that's got some size to it. You know, being able to see where you get a bigger image. It's pretty happy with it. So, any questions on either of those images?
I think you got one more, don't you?
No, I just did two.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. Phil's up next. So.
Conrad, real quick, you now shoot mostly from home? You don't need to go anywhere now with your setup?
You know, I do 90% of my stuff from home. You know, I've got such a good setup here. You know, I've got my new patio and I've got my shed, and then of course I lost a tree last September, so my sky has opened up considerably here by losing that tree. But I really do want to get out more. I want to get out to, especially like Cherry Grove. It's just, my schedule has just been horrendous to be able to get down there. But I really want to get back into going out to other places besides my backyard. But it works best for me, and because I'm doing so many different things right now, I'm testing so many new things I've ever done before. My backyard works the best, because if I screw up, then I don't feel so bad I had to drive somewhere, you know. So I'm getting closer where I feel like, you know, I can go out again. But yeah, most of it's from home.
You got amazing results given that's from home.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
All right, Phil Ramsey, you're up. And then Trina Johnson is next after Phil. Take it away, Phil.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. So let's see. A group of us went down to Oklahoma Panhandle for a week about, the end of February, early March. And this was my first foray into monochrome. Had a new monochrome camera and a filter wheel and a whole slew of new narrowband filters. So this was actually first light of this system. It's Rosette Nebula, monochrome. You'll probably see the notes and things on it. Let's see, Astrotech camera, or Astrotech doublet, which is a relatively inexpensive short focal length refractor, inexpensive AVX mount, 1600 Pro camera, narrowband filters for hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3. Use an ASA Air first generation and 100% Pix Insight. And this was shot in Mesa Valley Guest House in Kenton, Oklahoma, which is Bortle 2. It's the Rosette Nebula. It's well known. It's bright. It's large. I won't bore you with the details. I'm sure lots of people know way more about it than I do.
All right, cool. Here's your next image.
Next one is Heart Nebula, also shot same location, same time, over a couple nights again. Let's see. Same setup, slightly different exposure times, I guess. Let's see. The Heart Nebula, which is up, was about 6 hours and 10 minutes of exposure time. And the Rosette was about 4 hours of total exposure time.
Very nice.
Thanks.
All right, Trina, you're up. And then Mark Connolly, you follow.
Hello. Mark, you should recognize this one.
I do. I see the
down
power lines.
from, wow, where were we in Texas? Very nice star.
Boca.
Voca, there we go, Voca, thank you. And this was just basically looking southeast, just Milky Way. I did a little bit of touch up and color correcting in Photoshop, but it was just basically taken with my Nikon D5100 camera. Sorry, no Canons here. And yeah, it's either between the 15 to 20-second exposure and just one shot. I'm not very into astrophotography like the rest of you guys, so I'm doing the simple things.
It's incredible. It's cool. I can see Antares off there.
Yeah, it was nice. And the lines that are going through it, that's the power lines that were on there.
Yes.
So I chose
the power lines
to get rid of
that
them.
charge your battery.
Yeah. yes. So.
All right, Mark Connolly, you're up. And then Waltz Streibergs, you're next after that. Mark Connolly. I don't see him. If the list is still alphabetical. So it looks like this is Mark Connolly's shot of the lunar eclipse. 7D Mark II. Shot that from his house. Does he have anything else? Oh, wait, I skipped. I can't read the print. This is Christopher. Christopher, I'm sorry, you were up next, not Balls. Christopher Kovacs. Is he online? Where'd you guys all go? No, he's not online. So let's see whether the details, I recognize this. This is M42. This is Orion's Nebula. Nice and bright. So he shot this with a Newtonian, and he used a ZWO ASI 533 camera. I don't know the details of that camera. I can't remember if that's a cooled camera or not. But it looks like he shot this probably from his backyard, and he used an iOptron mount. He doesn't give us any details, but I mean it's pretty good. There's some good detail there. So he's got some good long exposures to get that dust out there in the outer edges. So that's pretty cool. Good job, Christopher. Now Waltz, you're up. And then after that is Suresh. Suresh is up after that. And then after Suresh, we're going to come back to Chris, and I'm going to pull up his image that he was trying to talk about without the notations.
All right. So what I'm showing you is something that doesn't exist. So what I like to do is challenge my imaging skills by trying to image things that have never been imaged by amateurs before. So one of the things that in reading some astronomy literature, I saw that there was some new research done on the Hercules dwarf galaxy. So, and basically that is a dwarf galaxy that is obviously in Hercules, and it was detected using some of the survey type telescopes, and through basically calculating the movement of stars in this field of view. And so what I wanted to do is to do as deep as of an image as I could possibly get with my Epsilon, and to see if I could see any structure whatsoever with the Hercules dwarf galaxy. So go to the next slide. Hopefully he's got the other. Okay, so basically, so on the left here are a couple images from those research papers. So those research papers basically identified this elongated thing. So you can see on the bottom of that image, the central field of that galaxy is it should be there. but from my photograph, it was not there. And I think there's one more slide. So basically, yeah, so what I did is it was a really interesting endeavor into PixInsight. So I was able to export the star locations of the field of view. It was actually imaged by the Large Binocular Telescope. And so I exported the star locations from that field of view and then turned it into a custom database into PixInsight and re-imported that and overlaid it with my image. So I know exactly where I'm supposed to be looking for that galaxy. Now this is my image has stars down to mag 20. And even with stars and mag 20, I could not see any structure at all. I think there's one more slide. So what I did is I took my image and I actually did a density map of the stars itself to see if I could see any structure. So that blotchy image on the left it's basically a density map that I tried to create from my image to see if there's any kind of concentration of that dwarf galaxy where it's supposed to be. And unfortunately, the answer is no. So this was a big fail. So, but anyway, I had fun doing it.
How many hours of exposure time do you have in that image?
I think it was in that other page. Back up a couple.
6 hours.
About 6 hours, yeah. And some of it was done at LLCC. Some of it was done from my backyard.
Wow, that was fun, but not fun.
Yeah, it was definitely not fun, but I enjoyed doing it.
Yes, very cool. All right. Next up is Suresh. And Suresh has about 5 or 6 images, and then we'll go back to Chris. I'm going to go disconnect, and I'll pull Chris's image up so he can finish talking about that. So go ahead, Suresh.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So this is my first image here is of the Cone Nebula and the Christmas tree cluster. Before I start off, I just want to say this part of sky that this object lies in is what I call the winter hole. This starts from basically east of Betelgeuse. It goes almost all the way to Cancer. This area is about 30 degrees of sky, and it's a part of the sky that I hardly ever see because it comes to opposition right in the dead of winter, and it's way too cold for me. I don't know if you guys go out, but I don't. So having the opportunity earlier this year from Black Mesa in Oklahoma, I jumped on it to get this picture because otherwise there's no way I can get it from here. It's too cold. So the beautiful region around this nebula, this is the Cone Nebula I'm talking about, is it actually, let me back up. This image is also called NGC 2264. And it actually refers to both the Cone Nebula, which is just below center there, and the Christmas tree cluster, which is pretty much in the center. The Christmas tree cluster is a very bright 4th magnitude open cluster that lies just to the north of the nebula, as you see here. The cluster is bright enough to view in binoculars, and it consists of about 80 stars of 8th magnitude and fainter. The cluster extends to almost 40 arc minutes in size, making it about 1.5 times the size of the full moon in our sky. These two objects lie about 2,700 light years from us, and they're about 24.7 light years across that you can see here. So this object actually runs the gamut. You've got reflection nebula at the top, you got some dark nebulae, and you have some emission nebula here. The Cone Nebula itself is just a very small part of a very active star forming region within the Milky Way. William Herschel discovered it in 1785. And while the Christmas tree cluster covers almost 40 arc minutes of sky, the Cone Nebula itself is only about 3 arc minutes long. So it's quite small and can be easily missed when you're looking for it visually through a telescope, particularly when you're under light polluted skies. The Cone Nebula itself stretches about 7 light years in space, and it's an absorption nebula, which happens to stand right in front of a bright emission nebula, which is why it stands out like it does as a pillar. It's being illuminated by the bright star S Monosaurus. I hope I said that right, Monosaurus, which is the brightest star in the Christmas tree cluster. So that brightest star is what's illuminating the area around the Cone Nebula. So over time, ultraviolet radiation from that star and other stars will eat away at the Cone Nebula, and essentially it'll go away. So to shoot this, I use my Radian Raptor 61 millimeter. It's got a field of view with my full frame Nikon D810A of about 7.5 by 5 degrees. So it's a pretty good sized field. And I used an ASI Air Pro. And the other thing I used was an Optolong L Extreme filter, which is a dual band filter. So it's primarily H alpha and O3 in one combined filter. So people that are starting out in imaging and don't want to go into the cost and complication of getting into LRGB or narrowband filters, they have another option in getting a dual band filter, which is really easy to use and much easier to process. So that's one suggestion. Next one. So this is M78, which is a famous reflection nebula in Orion. It lies very close to Zeta Orionis, which is famous for having the Horse Head and the Flame Nebula nearby. This is magnitude 8.3, so it's actually quite bright, but it's one of these objects that, because of its location, no one hardly ever looks at it. They usually are looking at the Orion Nebula or the Horse Head or the Flame or something else in the area, but very few people actually observe M78, so I thought I would try this. This nebula is about 1,350 light years away, and it's about 3.7 light years across. It covers 8.6 arc minutes of sky, so it covers about a quarter the size of the moon in our sky, a full moon. It was discovered by Pierre Méchain in 1780, and then was added to Messier's album catalog a year or so after that. As mentioned, it's 3 degrees northeast of the belt, and so Messier had mentioned that to him it resembled a comet. It's being illuminated by 2 bright blue stars that are within the cloud, and that's why this appears blue, as most reflection nebula do, through a process called light scattering. So with this one, I used my Skywatcher Spree 120 rig. This was with my ZW ASI 1600 Pro. So for this one, I shot at narrowband. So I used H alpha, O3, and S2. And let's see, in total, this is 160 minutes integrated between the 3 filters. And once again, this is also shot at Black Mesa, which I disagree with Phil. It's not, I don't think it's Bortle 2, I think it's Bortle 1, but it's either way, it's pretty darn dark there. Next one, thank you. NGC 2903. This is one of these objects that is really bright and really easy to find, but no one hardly ever looks at it, probably because it's not a Messier object. It's one of the brightest Virgo cluster galaxies that is not a part of the Messier catalog, even though it lies in Leo, and it is quite easy to find. It's classified as a barred spiral galaxy. It lies about 30.4 million light years from us, and it's actually quite large. It's 11 by 5 arc minutes by 5.3. So it's roughly 40% as long as a full moon. And it's actually about 105,500 light years across. So it's almost exactly the same size as our own Milky Way galaxy. As mentioned, it's quite bright. It's magnitude 8.8. And it may be actually visible in binoculars if you're under a dark sky. The bright knot that's just to the upper right of center there in the spiral arm, that actually has its own designation. It's called NGC 2905, and it's a large star-forming region in the spiral arm of this galaxy. So one of the interesting things about this galaxy, aside from its beautiful spiral arms and a strong central bulge, is that it's inclined 60 degrees to our line of sight. So it gives us a really nice perspective of the galaxy in whole with the spiral structure. Another thing that's interesting about this galaxy is it's got a really strange mass distribution. 72% of this galaxy's mass is actually in the spiral arms and not in the bulge or in the center, which is what's normally the case with a barred spiral galaxy. Can you see the details, please? Thank you. This is shot with my Malicam 10-inch Ritchie Cretan. I use an apex reducer, which brings it from f8 to f5.2. This was done with my ASI Air version 1. And I actually use a color camera. I use my ZWO224MC to shoot this. So this was actually a really easy capture and process. This was actually shot at Eagle Lake. So, and this one was 120 minutes, so 2 hours of integrated exposure time. Next one, please. This is my obligatory Omega Centauri shot that I submit every year. So most people know Omega Centauri is the largest and most massive globular cluster associated in our Milky Way. Actually, in doing a little bit of research in our local group of galaxies, which goes out about 8 or 10 million light years, it's the second largest globular within even that region. Only, I think it's called Mayet 2 in the Andromeda Galaxy is bigger than this globular cluster within our local group of galaxies. It is quite close to us actually too. It's 17,000 light years away, and it contains upwards of 10 million stars. In total, it has about 4 million times the mass of our sun. And people that are out in the dark skies with me know that I like to call globular cluster star cities, and this would be by far the biggest and brightest star city. The signature oval is nearly a degree, 55 arc minutes in size. And so it's almost twice the size of a full moon. It's also 3 times larger than M13, which is the Northern Hemisphere's most famous globular. And so one of the things about this object is it's at minus 47.5 declination. So we can't get it from Minnesota. But when we go to a place like the Panhandle of Oklahoma, it comes up about, I'll say 7 or 8 degrees above the horizon. So we can see it quite well there. And it's easily visible to the naked eye. It's magnitude 3.9, and it looks like a fat star in the sky. It really does. So this was shot with my Skywatcher 120 again. This was shot, I ran out of time. It was not the best night. So I only got luminance and red. So what I did here is I shot 35 minutes of luminance, and then I added 35 minutes of 5-minute luminance frames. And then I added 8 30-second luminance frames in order to bring out some of the core a little bit better. Then I added 15 minutes of red, and I didn't have time to get blue or green. And this was also shot with my ASI Air Plus. Next, please. Rho Ophiuchi is another target that's hard to get from Minnesota. It's quite low. So the bright star below center is Antares. This object has been on my list for years, but it's another one where it's just so low in our sky, it's been hard to get. I had the opportunity to get it again in Oklahoma in, I think, early March. And so I think it rose around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I stayed up till dawn to get it. So this is called the Rho Ophiuchi complex, and it's actually several objects just all together in one complex. The Rho Ophiuchi Nebula is really the blue region up on top, surrounding those 3 stars that look like a triangle. That's actually designated IC 4604, and that region by itself is 60 arc minutes by 25, so it's 2 moons vertically and a moon sideways inside, just that one portion of it. So you can see how vast this is. Again, this is shot with my DA-10A and my Raptor 61. So the field of view here is 7.5 by 5 degrees. And so, I mean, there's so much going on in this object. You've got reflection nebulae at top. You've got dark nebulae and what they call dark streamers going off to the left. And you've got emission nebula down below. And in addition, M4, which is just to the right of Antares, and then a small globular called NGC 6144 is also visible in this shot. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, again, so this was shot with my Raptor, which has a pretty large field of view. I use my L Extreme filter, which is a really nice dual band filter. So it really captures oxygen 3 and hydrogen alpha. So for people that are looking to get into imaging on the cheap, that's a good way to go, is with a dual band filter. Next one, please. And I believe this is my last one. This is the Splinter Galaxy NGC 5907. It's in Draco, and it's called the Splinter Galaxy because of its thin and elegant profile. We see it edge on here, and it's actually pretty bright for a galaxy. It's 10.2 magnitude, and it's a spiral, and it's about 56 million light years away, and it actually measures in at 184,000 light years across. So this is actually 50% or so bigger than our own Milky Way. So it's almost in the same size class as the Andromeda Galaxy. It covers 11.3 arc minutes by 1.8 arc minutes of sky. So it's about 40% the length of a full moon in our sky. It has the prominent central dust lane crossing the disk, and if you look close, you'll see some modeling within it, which features a lot of knots and ridges and a peak of a central bulge just below center there. This is another one of the beautiful galaxies that Charles Messier missed. This easily could have been a Messier object, but it was actually not discovered until William Herschel found it in 1788. And what's interesting about this one to me is it's not even on the Caldwell list. And so it's not even on, it's on the Messier list, it's not even on the Caldwell list. I'm not really sure why that is. So astronomers use this galaxy as a prototype for a warped spiral in relative isolation. It doesn't have a whole lot of other galaxies in the vicinity pulling on it. So the fact that it's warped is kind of perplexing to astronomers. So they study this one a lot. Let's see. So this was shot with my 10-inch RC, again at 5.2 with the reducer. This was shot with my color ZW 24 MC camera and my Air V1, and this was also shot at ELO. So I think that's my last object. Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, Suresh.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. You know, you're in a pretty dark skies down there, right? What's your Bortle 2?
That's Bortle 1, but yeah.
Oh, Bortle 1, yeah. So I guess I never thought about using an L extreme, which is kind of a light pollution thing, right?
Yeah. The L extreme is really a poor man's narrowband filter because it's hydrogen alpha and O3 primarily. And you know, I had that thought later. And I think that, Mark, if you're able to go back to that image, the blue area there is.
I can't because I'm working on getting Chris's image up,
okay,
so it's lost.
That's okay. So the blue area that was on the top there is actually probably fainter than it would have been if I had not used that filter. So you do have a point, Conrad. But I think it actually came out okay. I think there was enough benefit to the filter that it made it worthwhile. But yeah, I would definitely like to shoot that again and probably wouldn't use a filter.
Okay. All right. Just curious. Thanks.
All right. Here we are. If there's no more questions for Suresh, we'll move on.
Hey,
all right.
Thanks for pulling this.
Here's Chris's image that he wanted to talk about a little farther.
Thanks for pulling this up, Mark. So if everybody remembers where the Cygnus X1 it was located, and you can now see, yeah, thanks with the mouse, you can see the bow shock from that black hole. That's what my primary image was, and this took, I think I have at least 8 or 9 nights worth of imaging. A couple of those got thrown away. So this is 16 hours and 40 minutes of integration time. Most of that was from home, which is somewhere between Bortle 7 and Bortle 8. I got one night from Cherry Grove and a little bit from JJ Casby. The only other thing that's really interesting about Cygnus X1 is Mark is currently pointing at that star. The black hole is in orbit with that star at a distance of 0.2 astronomical units. So that's half the distance that Mercury is to our own sun. So when you're pointing at that star, you're really also pointing at Cygnus X1.
That's very cool.
That's all I have. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Chris. You bet. And that's our show for this week. We'll see you again next month. Imagers, thank you very much for another great year. I saw some comments. It looks like everybody is very excited to submit images, and we have plenty, and everybody enjoyed it from what I saw in the comments. So we'll see you next month, September 1st. Again, a hybrid meeting, and stay tuned. We'll we'll update you on as to what we're going to do for a speaker. Ahmed's on it. He assured me that he'll have something. So good night, everyone. Have a great month, and stay safe.